In order to produce a truly off-grid, reasonably reliable, enjoyable cabin, these solar panels are going on that deck, getting the most sun exposure they possibly can. Let's do this. I'm going to be installing an off-grid solar energy system, which will power a water heater, an off-grid water pump, and a water filtration system. Stay tuned, I'll teach you how to do it, and maybe you'll try it for yourself. If I didn't mention it before, I do have 5 years in experience as a solar energy design consultant. I even did a certification course and got all the scientific information on how to size those systems and figure out where to place the panels. Today, I'm finalizing my plan on where exactly to place the panels. And out of convenience, it'd be awesome to put them next to the existing ones and run them right back here. However, this tree is going to cut out significant hours every day at that location. It's one of the reasons why I'm looking to put them at the edge of the deck here, because it gets all the southern exposure from our sky right here. Now, I will admit, I'm realizing today that there is one mistake that I made in my calculations for sizing those batteries in that other video that I'll link here. Now, all the information in that video is completely valid. All the equations, all that's completely valid. The only thing I didn't account for is our hours of sunlight exposure being affected by trees. There's a percentage that should go into that equation that you can determine with a device that you take a measurement of the amount of sunlight where it actually measures the shadows and that kind of thing. That being said, I still think that I was conservative enough, and because I used the winter sun hours, I don't think that my math is going to be very far off, and I still think that system's going to work perfectly fine for our needs. And I sized it up a little bit, kind of rounding up, if you will. But that's one thing in that video that was lacking. That the one thing that you need to account for that I did not is the amount of shadows that any obstacles around you, like trees or other buildings and that kind of thing, will create. But the plan will be to build a couple of racks to support these little thin film panels. Put those racks right on the outside of that deck right there. And now it's just a matter of getting my measurements and getting to cutting. So life and improving seems to just be a series of small mistakes. And on this trip, I made the mistake of not bringing my generator or my chop saw. I got my skill saw, but I'm so used to doing work down at our lower lot where we have a more substantial solar energy system and a bigger inverter that I can actually run my power tools on, that I failed to realize that the tiny little inverter I have in my truck and up in our really tiny little system existing at the cabin will not power the skill saw. So it looks like it's good timing for good old-fashioned hard handwork. And this is just another reason that a self-reliant homeowner, entrepreneur, outdoorsman keeps hand tools. Because you never know what might happen and when you might need them. Chop saw will be helpful. how am I gonna do this? All right, we got the panels mounted. So now what I need to do is just double check the wiring diagram. All right, now we got the panels all mounted. So now all that's left is to wire them and run the power back up to the house connected to the batteries. As I mentioned earlier, this is a very simple system. It's a solar panel. Electricity runs to a charge controller. That charge controller then charges the batteries and helps to maintain them, make sure they don't overcharge. I think it regulates voltage and amperage and keeps them healthy. So I'm going to double check the wiring diagram. My intention here is to wire these in series. I believe that might give us a 48 volt system, but I think that's what I'm going to have to double check the wiring diagram. Well, as you can see, I'm back in my home office, and that's because this project has come to a stop. Unfortunately, I'm not completely certain that the charge controllers they include in this kit are compatible with this system, and I certainly don't have adequate information to finish the installation. As a matter of fact, I think I might have damaged one of the charge controllers by improperly initially wiring it. And that brings me to a really great point of this video, which is you get what you pay for. I'll be completely upfront with you guys. This was a very cost-effective system on Amazon, probably too cheap. And this, as you can see now, is the wiring instructions that it came with. Now, I'll tell you guys, this is not adequate. This does not even show all the components of my system. This is making assumptions about the type and size of battery. It's telling me to wire these in basically series parallel with just one charge controller with two batteries. And I think I was too trusting in these instructions. And frankly, when you're working with manufacturers of this poor quality with this lacking of information, you probably should just hold off. Now, that being said, I went ahead and because I do believe I damaged at least one of those charge controllers, I contacted the manufacturer. I'm asking for a much more detailed wiring diagram with more actual information on it and that would actually show the system that I purchased. I'm not confident that I'm going to hear back from them, and so I have gone ahead and purchased a new charge controller. It's on Amazon. It looks like a much better product. I'm going to share this here so you guys can see what I'm looking at. And what this new charge controller is, it's a 100 amp multi-point, MPPT. I forget what that stands for, but I know it has multiple power point tracking, I think is what it stands for, where it actually optimizes the amount of power that you can feed to your batteries based on taking a bunch of measurements from your solar panels themselves. Not only that, but this is adequate for 12, 24, 36, and 48 volts, which my system, depending if it's going to be wired in series or parallel for the batteries, will be either 12 or 24 volts, and this will handle a system much larger than the one I have in place right now. So unfortunately, this is what happens when you buy cheaper products. Just to give you guys an idea, the original solar energy system is this one that I'm showing now. I was very intrigued by the really high-powered panels, and as I alluded to in that initial video, I'm not 100% sure they were accurate with the power production. Having worked as a solar energy consultant, now granted that was over a decade ago, and panels have gotten much more efficient. But for a panel of that size to be 1,000 watts, I would expect it to either be much higher priced or that they're simply just not giving us adequate information. By the way, side note, a solar panel, its rating is determined by what we call standard testing conditions. This is where they fix the amount of sunlight, the temperature, the air quality, and so it's all apples to apples where every solar panel should be tested under standard testing condition. Now that I have experience with this product, now that I see that this manufacturer doesn't seem to be super reputable, I haven't responded to my Amazon message and it's been several days, and also I noticed this product is currently unavailable, which usually isn't a sign of a super high quality product or a very high quality vendor. And so I think I just ended up getting what were hopefully really efficient panels and a system that can't really support them. This is another PSA that don't just buy this cheap kit stuff off Amazon like I did and expect it all to work well. Safety is super important to me because I'm not at that property very often, because it's in the middle of pristine nature in a very wooded environment, and so forest fires and that kind of thing is a huge concern of mine. So I'm very excited to get this new charge controller. And as a matter of fact, The other thing that I came across in my search for looking for a charge controller that would be more appropriate and robust for the system was I actually did find the exact charge controller that came with my system. And to no surprise, it's available on Amazon for $12, which is very, very cheap, which indicates to me it's a very not high quality, not robust system. Here's information on that one, where I'm sure it works well for certain systems, but I do believe that the system that I put together is maybe too large, or at the very least you need two charge controllers, which was not reflected in that wire diagram. I also believe that if you're going to do like I did, where I bought batteries separate from the panels, you need to make sure the charge controller is rated and available to work with those. The batteries that I purchased for this system are two 12-volt 100 amp hour, they call them Life PO4, which is lithium iron phosphate batteries. So they have up to 15,000 cycles. They're perfect for RV, trailer, off-road, camping, solar grid systems. And that charge controller I got is compatible with this style of battery, so that's something you also certainly want to double check if you're going to be purchasing a kit or building your own. Or, as I will link in the video where I did battery sizing, is what I calculated as being the size of battery that we need in order to basically make sure that we're keeping that heat pack up to temperature and have enough energy to power that heating pad that we're putting under the water tank. And that's based on winter sun hours. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, be sure to find the description and go to that video. That video is super, super helpful when it comes to sizing batteries in off-grid applications. So please be sure to subscribe, because there will be a part 2. I've ordered that new controller. I'm excited because it seems to be from a more reputable company. They mentioned they have 24-hour tech support. And once I receive it, I'm actually going to see if I can't get on the phone with them to make sure that we're optimizing my system, not just for safety, but to make sure that we're getting the max power we can out of our 4 panels, because we can wire them in series, we can wire them in parallel, we can wire them in parallel series, and that will all have impacts on the voltage and amperage. And based on the charge controller that we get, there will be an optimum way to design them. Now, there's pluses and minuses. It gets a little bit more complex than this, because solar energy systems are kind of like old school lights. If you guys remember the old school Christmas lights, even before probably my childhood generation, if one light bulb goes out, they all go out. Well, that's how solar panels are that are wired in series. Instead of going out, we're talking about shadows. So if you get one corner of a panel in the shade, everything that's wired in series together will be affected by that in a negative way, which is one of the reasons as a solar design consultant we would design systems in a way where we know as a shadow is moving across the roof, it's only affecting a certain portion, and we're wiring it to plan for all that. This is a much, much smaller system. There's only 4 panels. I'm not as worried about that as I am to make sure that we've got optimum voltage and amperage to maximize the energy that we're producing, and the charge controller will be the limiting factor in that. So with one of these MPPT charge controllers, that alone helps the efficiency, because it's literally reading from the panels and determining the best voltage amperage to maximize your wattage and the charge that you're receiving. And I'm super excited to put together that part 2 video, so be sure to subscribe, click that bell so you can get notifications so you see it when part 2 comes out. Check the description if you want to learn how to size batteries and see a really fun interactive video that I put together that way. And until next time, I'm excited to get this system completed when we're back up at the cabin, and I'm excited for you guys to see it and to see how well that system works all together. So subscribe, stay tuned for the next version of this video, and as always, I'll be very transparent with you guys and hopefully give you good feedback so you can learn lessons from my mistakes and become more self-reliant on your own. My mission is self-reliance through sustainable living, and we're here to build a community. Click here to subscribe to be sure to get more awesome content for living off the land. And be sure to go in to enter for notifications. Click that bell, get notifications, and stay in tune. Subscribe, watch, and comment. Let's build a community. See you soon.